Another NBA podcast from the Drive and Dish NBA podcast. Sorry, I got so distracted. My wife sent me some pictures of my kid who is learning to sit and is reading a book that I didn't know he had. So I think my wife bought her a book.
Oh, hey, I mean, there are plenty of worse things your wife could buy her than a book, so that's
True.
good. Super
True.
wholesome. I don't know what you were going to be distracted by, but pictures of the little one are always a good answer.
Yeah, of course. And well, and there's a good chance. By the way, again, getting way off topic. Daylight savings with kids is no joke.
Oh, dude,
Like,
I have a
whoa.
buddy going through that right now. Like, it's like
Oh
extra
my
hours
Lord.
sleep. Little man woke up at like 5 a.m. instead of 6
Yes.
a.m.
Quinn was down every night, 7:30 to 7:30. We would get 12 hours. It was awesome. Daylight savings hits. She's like asleep by 5, waking up at 4:30. We're like, whoa, what happened? Like, why are you so thrown off? And I think she's, obviously the time change and it getting darker out really throws her off. So that's, what we're dealing with right now and supposed to try to get her back on track, which I think is working, but currently distracting her with books. So I appreciate my wife for taking the task of dealing with her tonight while we get to talk some NBA.
Yeah, no, Nicole has always been a real one and remains a real one. Yeah, we're happy to be here. This is a
Mhm.
good break from we say this all the time, but this is a good break from reality, I think, for both of us. So
Yeah.
definitely always excited to talk hoops with you guys. Excited, obviously, that regular basketball is back. We're going to dive into a lot of our first week takeaways on this episode. Of course, we're going to do who's ballin', who's fallen. And the whole lot of things to talk about. We actually have a bit of breaking news too with Jamal Murray. He's going to miss some time. Going to be out for the rest of the month with his hamstring injury. So we will, of course, get into that. But for warm-up jumper, you know how we got to do it. We were going to put it at the end of the episode this time. But you know what? We got to start right off front, warm up with some Immaculate Grid as always. And right off the rip, before even saying anything, I am already excited about the new international category because that is definitely a bit more difficult than we've had before, a newer one. But so for the podcast listeners, again, if you want to watch us play Immaculate Grid or the entire podcast, just search the Drive and Dish NBA podcast on YouTube. You can subscribe there. But for our podcast listeners, of course, our columns tonight from left to right are the Portland Trail Blazers, the Atlanta Hawks, and born outside the U.S. 50 states and D.C., and then our rows from top to bottom, you've got the Dallas Mavericks, the Houston Rockets, and the Lakers. So, Justin, as always, I'm going to let you dive into this first. You got anybody that piques your interest early?
So I think I have Mavericks, Blazers.
Okay.
And I'm thinking Wes Matthews.
Yes. Okay. That works.
Do we want to go with him or do we want to see if we can find like maybe a lesser known?
So here's the only other one I should say that jumps out right away that I can think of without really like diving into it is Seth Curry.
Did he do both?
He did. Yeah, he was in Dallas for a bit. He was in Portland.
Right.
Yeah, I think he was on the conference finals team in the year with Portland. But no, Wes Matthews is definitely a good one. Like he was a starter on kind of the early Dame Lillard teams. It was him and Batum and LaMarcus Aldridge. And then he definitely was on Dallas for a bit. So by all means.
You want to go Wes or you want to go Seth? I like Seth.
We can do Seth. I don't think I have. I'm just trying to see if I'd use Seth anywhere else, and there's nowhere that's jumping out. So yeah, I'm fine using Seth for Dallas and Portland. That's a good one.
You want to go Seth?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh wow,
37%. Okay, I weirdly think Wes Matthews, which is crazy because Wes obviously played way more minutes,
right?
Especially in Portland,
right?
But I mean, the Curry bump is real for sure.
Yeah.
And Seth's been around long enough too, where I mean, he is like an early on in his career, he was bouncing around because he was kind of like barely hanging in the league. Like, dude had to worry about that in quite a bit.
Geez, I'm still very surprised about it being so high. Now, I think we used this guy last week, 2 weeks ago. Rondo would also work for Hawks, Mavericks, right?
I don't think Rondo played for the Hawks. Did Rondo play for the Hawks? He
I
definitely
can't
played for
remember.
Dallas. I know
He
they kind of
definitely
want to
played for
forget about
Dallas.
it.
Yeah, I definitely know he played for Dallas.
The one I have there for sure is Vince Carter. Vince Carter
Oh,
was on both of those teams at the end of his career. He hit a playoff game winner in Dallas. That's the one I know 100%. I don't think maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think Rondo played in Atlanta.
oh, you know who else would work here?
Who?
Mr. Farrah and Farrah himself, accident attorneys Chandler Parsons.
What?
You don't hear those commercials? He endorses. I think it's Fair and Fair. I could have it wrong. He got into a car accident, and one of the big law firms like defended him.
Oh, no, I remember the car accident. Like, it was
Yeah.
it was bad. Like, it really like, I know he was dealing with a lot of injuries, so his NBA career was towards the end, but, like, no, that car accident finished it. Like, it wasn't cool. It was a big, like, negligent thing. Um, did Chandler Parsons play in Atlanta? I know he
I'm
played in
almost
Dallas for
positive
sure.
he did. I'm trying to see what the attorney was. I'm trying to pull it up right now. Yeah,
I'm
Morgan, John Morgan. Yep,
Oh, okay, so not Farrah Barrett, Morgan and
Morgan and
Morgan,
Morgan for
but,
the people. Yeah,
yeah, Chandler Parsons definitely played in Dallas because, of course, he was signing the,
of course.
yeah, he was signing, the contract in the club with Mark Cuban.
I thought he was on the Hawks for a very quick stint. Maybe I'm wrong.
He
I
might have
don't.
been. So that's the thing. It's like those end of the career guys. I'm not like. Let me ponder on that one because we have good answers
Yeah, I
there.
mean Vince Carter's obvious, like a guaranteed.
Yeah, that's what
Uh,
I mean. We'll come back to it. I want to think about Chandler
like Elton
Parsons a
Brand.
little
Wouldn't Elton
more.
Brand work there too?
Oh God, I'm avoiding that. I think you're right, but like I am nowhere near confident about
Okay.
that.
Okay. We won't. We don't have to go down that.
Um,
All right.
born outside U.S. 50 states in D.C. The
Luca.
obvious one for Dallas that I feel like will be the fan favorite that people go to is JJ Barea.
Oh, I was gonna say Luca.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I or Dirk. Yeah, I guess that
Oh,
would work for
Dirk. Yeah,
Dallas. Yeah,
like
Luka
you
or
got a few
Dirk, they might
options.
work. I guess they're pretty good.
Honestly, JJ might be the one out of those three to pick.
I really thought JJ Barea was about to be so high. I thought he was about to be like a
You might.
75 percenter.
No, you might be right. JJ Barea might be the least out of those three.
I definitely think he's the least out of those three. I mean, there are other players. I can think of role players on their team who are foreign though. Like Peja Stojakovic was in in
Did
Dallas for a little bit.
did Hedo Turkoglu ever play for them?
I don't
I know
think
he
for
was on
Dallas,
Orlando.
no.
No. Okay. I just remember him in a blue jersey, but it's obvious. I think it's Orlando that I'm thinking of.
I think I want to do Page. I mean, Peja feels like the lowest there.
How
Just
does
because
he
his
spell
stint
it?
there was so short.
O
Peja.
E J. Okay. Yeah. Should we go for it?
Yeah, I think so. I feel good about that.
1%. Look at that.
Nice.
Good
All right.
call.
Dude, that's where he got his ring. He got his
Yeah.
ring on the 2011 Dallas team.
Oh, wow.
There are a lot of vets looking back on that team who got rings for the first time, and it's
Yeah.
kind of like it is fitting in hindsight.
So do
The
we
team
want to round out the born outside the 50 states? Do we want to do that, or we want to work across Rockets and then Lakers like we were doing with Dallas?
Well, here's my thing. If Chandler Parsons played for the Hawks, he also would work for Rockets as well there in the Rockets Hawks.
Oh yeah, he did play on the Rockets.
A part of me wants to like leave that for a sec. Oh, know who
Yeah.
else played for the Rockets though, and who I think could do Rockets Hawks? You could do Jeremy Lin, I think, for both of them.
Oh yeah, Jeremy. Didn't he play on the Lakers too?
Jeremy Lin did play on the Lakers. You're right. Yeah. Wow. Oh, wow.
So wait, hold on. Jeremy Lin might fit for like Lakers. Born out was Jeremy born outside of the U.S.?
I don't know. Not enough to be
I don't know
confident
either.
about
Yeah,
it.
but I bet you if he was, that would be a low one. But I think Hawks Lakers, Jeremy Lin would be very low.
Yeah, I think so too. I feel like there's a few others. I mean, Lou Williams would work for Lakers and Hawks.
He'd probably work for Rockets too,
He
right?
would work for Rockets
Yeah.
and Hawks. Yeah, you're right. Wow. Okay. All right. So, wow, we just got a lot of options
we
really
pretty
fast.
much just said we have a ton of options. We just got to debate which one we think is going to be the
All
lower
right.
percentage.
So here's what I'm thinking. Let's do Chandler Parsons for the top. We'll do Lou Williams for one of the Lakers and Hawks, and then we'll do
Lin.
Jeremy Lin for the whichever one we don't do.
So which one do you think Lou's going to be lower for Lakers or Rockets, and then the Hawks connection.
Probably the Rockets. I think he played on the Rockets. Like, he had a full season in LA. He was only on the Rockets for a bit, and then he got traded.
Okay, so if you go Lou,
I think Lou will be
I thought
lowest there.
Didn't he win sixth man on Rockets, or was that Clippers?
No, it was with Clippers.
Oh, didn't he win it a few times? though? I thought he won it with the
Toronto too. He won it with
Oh,
Toronto.
Toronto. Okay. All right. So let's go Lou there. 3%.
Okay,
Good call.
3%. Nice.
Rockets, Hawks connection.
I really want to know what he's. See, this is where I wish it doesn't have a reset mode, but I wish we could do this after the pod, just because I would like to see what Lou is in the percentage for other ones.
Yeah, to see who is more.
I mean, if we're going from the ones I'm most confident in to the ones I'm least confident in, like Jeremy Lin, I'm 100% for Lakers and Hawks. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that's correct.
Okay, we'll go Jeremy Lin there, 3%, which is
nice.
Huge.
That's
too.
Another good one. Chandler Parsons, I'm less sure about with Atlanta. I'm 100% he played for Dallas, but I feel good enough about him because I do think he played there after Memphis. Like, that feels right. I think it was real toward the end of his career. It'd be a short stint type deal because the main places he played in were Houston and Dallas.
Remember when him and Gordon Hayward were like the two, like they were both like in. I remember Tim and I would have that debate: Chandler Parsons or Gordon Hayward. Like we would. I think it was back when he was on Utah.
Parsons was elite in 2K too, on another note. Like, whatever 2K, I guess it was like 13 or 14, maybe. He was really, really good.
That's what I'm saying. In that 2K game, I remember Chandler. I remember Parsons being in a red jersey.
I mean, that would make sense with Houston.
And maybe it's Houston that I'm thinking of, but I don't know. I
feel good. I trust your gut. Your gut has the past few weeks, like with Derek Favors, I think about that late. Like, I trust your gut. Your gut hasn't let us wrong. That Justice Winslow, I think, is your greatest pull yet. Derek Favors is good, but Justice Winslow was your greatest pull for where that was.
All right, Chandler Parsons. Oh my Lord, I'm hoping.
If not, we're doom and gloom early. Oh, nice. Wow, a row of or a column, I should say, of 3%. That's 3%.
He did. I'm gonna look him up. Because I want to know how many how long he played for.
While you're looking it up, let me reset for the podcast listeners. So our Dallas row is complete. We got Seth Curry for Mavericks and Trailblazers. We got Chandler Parsons for Mavs and Hawks. And we got Peja Stojakovic for Born Outside the 50 U.S. states in D.C. For Hawks Rockets, we got Lou Williams.
Wow.
For Lakers Hawks, we got Jeremy Lin. So the Hawks column is complete as well.
Chandler Parsons played for the Dallas Mavericks in 2015, 2016, did 127 games. He played for the Hawks in 2020 for 5 games.
Wow. Okay. Good for you. I mean, and his picture on this Immaculate Grid is in the Hawks jersey, so that is kind of fitting.
Other options, Elton Brand was one.
Okay.
Chris Humphries.
Okay, that's a good one.
Jose Calderon.
I feel like Calderon we don't use a lot, and he's sneaky on here. He's like a good Immaculate Grid option.
I bet you Jeremy Evans is one of the least used on this because he played.
For sure.
He played 30 games for Dallas and 1 game for Atlanta.
Yeah, I truly didn't remember who that was. So yeah, I can imagine him being a 1%er. If that's like a 0.1%, I feel like
Vince Carter, obviously.
Vince Carter, I feel like is the highest.
Rondo would have worked.
Okay, so Rondo did play for Atlanta. Okay, I obviously knew he played for Dallas. I also like the T that we have on the Immaculate Grid right now.
Oh yeah, we're in a good spot. I mean, we obviously know a few of these that we were talking about.
Oh yeah, I feel great about like the international ones are pretty easy. For Lakers and Rockets, like there's multiple options, both of good ones and like lesser known guys or maybe starters you forgot about. The Trailblazers column is going to be a little bit harder, but we'll come back to that in a sec. Let's do this international column for a sec.
I mean, we could go Yao Ming.
Yao Ming is the obvious one for Houston. I agree. To me, he's probably the number one guest.
He's got to be right. Gotta be.
My starter that you forgot about that was pretty good for a few years and was there is Omer Sheik, a fantasy god because he got a zillion rebounds. He's Turkish, so he would work there.
I forgot about him.
Chetty Osman's in San Antonio. Never mind. I was going to say Chetty Osman's Turkish too, but he is not there. For the Lakers, I mean, you got a bunch. You could do Vlade Divac. You could do Timothy Mozgov, as much as they probably want to forget that contract. I mean, Pau Gasol is the other famous one being Spanish.
Mozgov feels good. Mozgov feels really good.
I like Mozgov a lot, unless it gets a bunch of infamous ones like off because that contract is so bad.
That's
But
what I
yeah.
mean. Like I like that. I want to go. I want to go Mozgov
All right,
for
let's do that
Lakers.
then. Timothy Mozgov,
How did MOZ?
Mozgov.
Yeah,
Yep.
there he is. Okay. MOZ 3%.
Yeah,
We're
3%
just
is the
staying
name
with
of the
the
game
3%.
today, apparently. Okay. I
Yeah.
love his headshot too. Just super
amazing.
serious. Like, love to
Yeah.
see it. Şengün right now was born outside the US, I'm pretty sure. And so but that's a new guy. Like, I think he'll be
Yeah.
higher up.
Yeah.
Not quite Yao. Like, Yao is going to be number one. I'm biased. I like a Sheik. I kind of want to guess a Sheik. I feel like that'll be lower. It feels like it'll be 3% at this point.
Yeah. Omar. Oh.
Omer.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, there he is, right at the top.
Oh, I didn't realize 2018 was his last year. Okay.
Yeah, 'cause he played for the
Omar,
Bulls for a while, too.
2%.
Okay,
Oh, you
yeah,
ruined it.
all right, 2%. Dude,
1,
Ashik
2,
looks
3.
old as hell in that picture, man. You talk
Yeah,
about Mozgov
man.
looks serious. Ashik looks like he's seen some battles, which, I mean, I guess he
Yeah,
has.
dude.
He was in the paint for a while, but
Yeah, dude. Oh my.
all right, so we got to finish off this last column with Portland. We got Portland and Houston that we need, and we got Portland and the Lakers that we
It shows
need.
how much we know about Portland, doesn't it? That we held it for the very end, huh?
I mean, I have a Portland and Lakers one like pretty quick that I didn't really have to think too hard about. Josh Hart.
Oh, that's not who I was gonna say. I was gonna
Who were
say.
you gonna say?
I was gonna say. You said Rockets, Lakers, or I mean Lakers,
Lakers and
Trailblazers, right?
Blazers, yeah.
Yeah. Carmelo.
Oh yeah, that's true. I like that. Go with a legend. Go with Carmelo. I
You
like because
think?
yeah, because Josh Hart was pretty
Oh,
like recent. Rest in peace, Fab Mello. By the way,
I probably should have put in Carmelo. I feel like this is gonna be high.
I think it'll be high, but I think Josh Hart would be higher. As crazy as that sounds,
33% for Melo.
okay. Weirdly lower than I guess higher or lower at the same time than I expected. I don't know what I expected there.
Oh,
Because
who
Carmelo's
else?
a legend, but obviously like this is end of his career Melo type
You
deal.
know who we could have used there, I think?
Who?
Our boy, who's back on who's back on the 76ers, Covington. Didn't he play? Didn't he start up on the Lakers?
No, he started with Sixers for sure.
Oh, okay. Maybe I got it wrong then.
Covington is like Embiid is Mr. Process, but like Covington is the other OG like process. Like Covington was a G League superstar, and then like he had a few games with Houston.
Yeah.
Did he play for Portland?
He was definitely on Portland. I remember him on
Portland.
Portland.
Did we just solve it? Did he play for Houston's big club?
Oh yeah. Wait.
I don't remember. So he played for their G League team for sure, because that was the Murray connection. I don't think
he was definitely Trailblazers.
He was on. Oh man, if he was on the roster, and I feel like he might have been. That's it. Like that's for sure. We can walk it off here. He definitely played for Portland for at least a season.
Yeah, I 100% remember him on Portland. I thought he was on the Rockets.
Why do I think he was in their system? No, I'm 100%. He was in their system. He played for their G League team. That's where he was the G League MVP. And that's what got him on the Sixers' radar.
It's got to be then, right? They had to. If you're the MVP of the G League, they didn't pull you up once.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like he had to two-way at some point. And if he two-wayed, I think we got it. It would have been 1 year. It would have been at the beginning of his career. But if this is right, it's 100%. And I think it'll be a damn near 1%er.
Cove. Do it.
I feel good. Yeah, walk it off.
All right,
I
here we go,
I feel 100% confident about this.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Dude, a rarity score of 93.
No, we smoked that because I think that Covington guess was real low. Let me look it up, bro. Robert Covington played 7 games for Houston in 2013, 2014. So we were right. It was the beginning of his career. 2.3 points a game. He was
Good
averaging
call.
like 5 minutes. No, good call for you getting him with Portland. That was definitely
No,
great.
I was gonna say good call on the Yao Ming being the most popular Rockets guess
Yeah, I mean,
for born outside the US.
it feels logical. Like I mean, not only is he the most famous basketball player from the biggest country on earth,
Yeah.
he was quite good in his own regard, a number one pick.
Yeah.
Vince Carter being number one there isn't surprising. Like it is kind
Dude.
of strange, but it's a late game thing. Clint Capella makes a lot of sense. Do you want to scroll back up? So our top guesses for everything. We did have one with Seth Curry and actually
Yep.
with Carmelo Anthony as well
Yeah.
for Lakers and Portland. Rockets Portland is Clyde Drexler, which makes a lot of sense. Arguably the greatest player. I mean, it's him and Dame for the greatest players in Portland history. And then that's where he ended up getting a title in Houston.
Yep.
As part of that with that Olajuwon team. Vince Carter for Hawks and Mavericks, Clint Capella for Rockets and Hawks, and Dwight Howard for Lakers, Hawks. The international guys, Dirk for the Mavs, Yao for the Rockets, and Pau Gasol for the Lakers. Probably not too many surprises there.
So for
what was our Covington percentage?
Oh, you want me to X out of it?
9%.
9.
Wow. Okay. I did not
9's pretty
expect that to
high.
be 9%.
I was looking up Lakers, Blazers connections, other ones that we could have used.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Kaman, Ed Davis, Kent
Chris
Bazemore.
Kaman, okay. Yep.
Steve Blake. Wow. Josh McRoberts, Channing Frye, Larry Nance Jr.
Yeah, Larry Nance was in that hard trade. He did cross my mind a little bit.
Gary Payton II, Cam Reddish.
Also, fun fact, I once failed when I was playing one of these off the podcast because I clicked the wrong Larry Nance. I put junior. I clicked senior instead of junior, and I for sure failed because of it. And I was definitely like not me being tender at all. Not even the tiniest bit. But yeah, no, we move. I love it. Another 9 for 9. Let us know your thoughts. Shout out to my guy Al last week. Ironically, for Al Jefferson, we got him for Celtics and Jazz, and he was like the whole time he was like I was yelling while I was listening. Al Jefferson, Al Jefferson, Al Jefferson.
Come on, you gotta get him. I know. Well, that's why I like doing it. It's like you can play along in the car and you can watch us walk down the wrong path or completely be oblivious to an obvious answer. Because when you're in it, sometimes you don't.
Well, it's that joke. Well, yeah, we had Kawhi once where we didn't get for Spurs and Clippers. That one's still my favorite. Well, no, it also just comes down like it's that joke, right? About dudes being dudes. Like you end up just having conversations as well about guys you may not have thought about in a while, teams you may not have thought about in a while. So yeah, it's really a fun time. Welcome everybody to the Drive and Dish NBA podcast. My name is Kevin Rafuse. Joining me as always, my co-host Justin Cousart.
I yet again did not grab a tweet because I suck.
Ooh, is this a thing now? Like our player tweets just go? I don't have one. I didn't see a fun interaction this week. I mean, I'm sure I did at some point, but I can't say I have one up right this second.
And it's on me. I was gonna get one up, but I was in the process of trying to pull up Jamal Murray's like stats for the year since we're literally about to jump into that. So that's why I'm gonna blame Jamal Murray.
Yeah, I mean, that's unfortunate with the hamstring, but yeah, we are going to dive into that here a little bit after the break. Some other injury news as well. Rob Williams is facing a decision of whether this is going to be like a short-term thing or a long-term thing. There's a whole lot going on, and we'll let you know what our first season takeaways are.
Also, CJ McCollum with the collapsed lung.
Yeah, no, that's another good one.
Which did you see? I think it was Sports Nation or somebody put up a photo of him like it was a photo of him holding his chest, and it's like CJ McCollum out with. He reposted it. He's like, "Y'all are messed up for this."
That's what should have been the tweet, low key. I did see that. That's real funny, and that is like, oh man, it was just like a it was pumping my chest type deal, gas himself up. But yeah, that is whoever made that post knew 100% what they were doing. Just like you would be doing if you left us a review on iTunes, good or bad, we'll read them on the podcast. If you're not an Apple user, Google Play Store, Spreaker, Spotify, TuneIn, Amazon Music, anywhere you can find a podcast, you can find us.
And follow us on YouTube. You can subscribe to the podcast there. That way you can catch all the episodes and the video versions of the Immaculate Grids and everything else we're doing. And when you subscribe, you'll get a notification when the next episode is coming out, just like you would if you subscribe to the podcast.
And now a word from our sponsors.
So let's start it off with Jamal Murray, likely out 3 to 4 weeks with a right hamstring strain. That came out like minutes before the podcast started. Murray was hurt in the win over the Chicago Bulls on Saturday. You know, it's one of those things where I'm like, yeah, it sucks, but I think the Nuggets are going to be fine.
Yeah, I mean, if it's gonna happen, this is the time, obviously, at the
Right.
beginning of the season, not when you're playing meaningful basketball. I mean, we saw 2 seasons of the Nuggets without Jamal Murray, so, I don't think anybody wants to see that. I think the one thing you always just I mean, Woj tweeted, and as the Nuggets should be, is cautious with this, not just because it's early in the
Right.
season, but I think the one thing we've known with hamstring injuries and with basketball players is, they linger. Like, though, that is the type of injury that if you do rush back from it, you might be out for a long time and it will
Yeah.
limit you. Like, you truly can
Yeah.
see the difference.
Right. So
And so
don't rush it back. Like take your damn time. And especially with the Nuggets, like I don't think you're gonna need to rush him back.
No, I mean, we know like the Nuggets are defending a title.
Right.
Like they're playing for another one. Like they're going to be, if everyone's healthy, they're going to be right there again trying to win a championship. So, yeah, I think of course caution is the way to go. I don't think anyone will doubt that. But yeah, they're going to have to tread water for a little bit. In terms of West, I don't think seeding matters a ton for them. Nor will I think he'll be out long enough. But I think the biggest thing, though, is like I said, you got to make sure this doesn't linger. God forbid he starts missing months, and then you do have to start worrying about it a little bit. But no, I mean that I just think anytime again you hear hamstring, that's
Yeah.
your initial reaction is that, oh man, here we go. You got to look out.
Right. And
Um,
obviously he was a big part of their run last year. We've already said that, but in case you were wondering, the stats from last season, 26 points per game, 7 assists, almost 6 rebounds. Obviously that was during the playoff run, which is what you're going to want from him this year, which is why it's like let everything heal 100% and we'll go from there.
yeah, I mean, they kept Reggie Jackson. I think that's important, so he'll be able to step up.
Mhm.
Um, Christian Brown we said he was going to play more minutes regardless. Like once Bruce Brown left, it was kind of felt like he was going to step in and fill the void, and I think he'll be called on a little more here. I mean, this again is just the other thing too is the offense runs through Jokic. Like I guess they're going to miss their two-way game for sure. Obviously, like that's Denver's most lethal weapon. But I think when you have such a unique offensive center, you kind of can offset at least that one aspect of it. Like obviously they're going to miss the scoring more than anything. Like
Mhm.
Murray is their other scoring punch, but at least from a point guard perspective, I think Denver also is just because of Jokic weirdly adapted to take that hit a little
Yeah.
better than some other teams.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
And
Eh,
so, oh my bad, Justin, go ahead.
no, you're good. I agree with you. And I understand whenever your star or second star on the team goes down, you worry. But if this were any other team, I'd be worried. Nuggets, I'm not worried about them unless he's missing multiple months because of this injury or
Yeah.
tries to come back too early and ends up going back out because then you just start continuously hindering yourself from getting back. And so, but again, if you're the Sixers, maybe if you're the Knicks and you're the maybe it's the Lakers, if you're the teams that are in the middle of the pack in either side, then yes, there might be a perceived feel to rush back. But the Nuggets are going to be one of the top teams in the NBA this year, and I don't think they're worried about playoff position. So I think you are not worried in terms of rushing Jamal Murray back.
I do think it goes without saying too that it feels automatic that Michael Porter Jr. will have to step more up on the scoring front.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like you said, the biggest worry is if this were to linger. The other big injury news was Rob Williams, and that Rob Williams is out indefinitely. I guess that's the best way to describe it right now. He has to figure out what type of surgery he's going to have, whether he decides to go for a more minor procedure that could have him miss basically a cleanup. So he'd miss two
Hmm.
to 3 months. That would put him back in January, February type deal. The other one is that he's out for the entire season. They're gonna, just kind of fix the knee and we'll see you next year. This
That's what
is
I
the
would do.
one oh, Yes, to put it bluntly. I mean, he had it repaired a year ago, only 35 games in 2022, 2023. I mean, look, he's got he signed a 4-year, $48 million deal with the Celtics, so he's got 2 years left there, so I guess he's not playing for a contract in that sense. But yeah, I mean, this has been like there are 2 things here. Robert Williams has been really good when he's been healthy. I mean,
Mhm.
an absolute force defensively. Really kind of what you want in your modern NBA center archetype if he's not going to shoot like he does everything else well. He runs the floor, he rebounds well. Like I said, just even chasing up and getting out and being able to rim run and alley oop and things like that. But yeah, I mean, the injuries have been plaguing him throughout his career. And yeah, if I'm the Blazers here, when I'm a young team, when I'm not tanking, but I'm sort of not trying to win games either, like it's unfortunate because Rob Williams is one of those younger players that you just want to see. And
Yep.
especially behind Aiton, too. Like I think that just gives them, that rotation looks really good. But I just don't see the benefit to him coming back in 2 to 3 months.
Nope.
Like, what are the Blazers going to be playing for at that point? Like,
Right.
I guess you could argue they're in playoff contention right now, and like maybe they're trying with a couple of the guys they have, assuming they're going to retain Jeremy Grant. I think he's still gone at the deadline, but like with the current roster, you're trying to win games. But no, I think you definitely like again, I'm erring on the side of caution here because it is about long term with Rob Williams.
It's almost the opposite of what we were just talking about with the Nuggets, but it's the opposite in the same way, which I know makes 0 sense. Like, neither of these guys are rushing back, or neither of these situations do you need to rush back on. The Trailblazers do not need to be winning this year. Like, it's a full rebuild. You just got rid of Lillard. Let it be a rebuild. Let the younger guys, get accustomed to playing and get the experience, and let Robert Williams go get fully healed up or fixed. Like you said, 3 months from now, 4 months, you come back. It's like, what would the Trailblazers be playing for at that point anyway? Maybe to make the play in tournament, like maybe, but at that point, why rush him back to just potentially have to do another surgery in the offseason and hinder the development of the whole team and get that continuity with everybody?
Yeah, they're going to be selling, I think, anyway. Like I still, like I said, I mentioned Jeremy Grant. I think Malcolm Brogdon is prime trade deadline sell candidate. Plenty of contenders will be interested in him. So
Also,
yeah, I'm with you.
not to totally derail the situation, we talked about this off mic, betting is allowed, and I'm waiting to see who the first person to score in the 76ers Celtics game is because I have Joel Embiid as my first player to score bet, and my phone will not update. The game was supposed to start 5 minutes ago. Somebody scored. I wanna know who it was.
All right, I will find out for you, you degenerate. Um,
Listen, I'm trying to win like $30.
I'm gonna call you degenerate if you start bringing up your live bets on the
Oh, I
podcast.
will. You already know we put
I'm
together a
very
5 parlay.
I am happy for you that this is legal now, but
Uh, I'm like a
I'm
kid in a candy store. I can finally eat the food.
yeah, that is one way to put it.
Uh,
Yeah, but I mean, kind of along the lines of Rob Williams. I look at him and I'm thinking about in the first week, kind of the Celtics, the old Celtics and new faces and new places almost, if you will. And boy, I mean, it's you got Rob is injured.
mhm,
And then just Grant is having the best time by far, right? Like Grant Williams has been a phenomenal pickup for Dallas already. And kind of doing the things they expect him to do. Like they brought him in to help improve the defense, and he has in that regard. Dallas is off to a really hot start. Like I do think that's been one of the storylines so far this season.
mhm, mhm.
And then you got poor Marcus Smart, who's just not accustomed to losing, and now has unfortunately been doing. I mean, we talked about it a bit last week in Memphis, like a few things out of their control, a few things fully in their control, but
Yeah.
it has not improved at all since we last did this podcast with them. Just 1-6 on the season. Finally got their first win of the season the other night, but
Yeah,
um,
who out of the teams, I mean, hold on, I'm trying to pull it up. Out of the teams that maybe haven't cracked 3 wins yet, worry you the most? I mean, to list them off would be, as of right now, I know games are literally about to start as we're recording this, but as of right now, Kings, Jazz, Grizzlies, and then Hornets, Pistons, Wizards.
I think the Kings looks tough on paper, but they're also dealing with a De'Aaron Fox injury, which
Yep.
again, thankfully, is not worse. He
Yep.
tweaked his ankle, and so that's a big one. That one looms. I also just think, obviously, when they get him back, they'll be a lot better. So
Sure.
I'm not quite as worried about that one. I mean, Memphis, I guess, is just the most jarring. Like I said, the
Yeah.
way it's happened. Utah maybe doesn't surprise you that much here. Um, Washington is brutal right now. I mean, there's no way around it.
So
Like,
that was gonna be one of my reactions was, w like, what are we how do we feel about Washington?
I feel
Because
great if they're tanking.
well, yeah, but you got guys on the team that aren't tanking player vibes.
Quite, are they not though? That's the thing. Is like
I mean, I
they may
guess.
not be tanking, but when your main offensive weapons are Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma, then you might just be tanking by proxy, if that
Inadvertently.
makes sense.
Yeah.
And look, their numbers are getting better. Like Jordan Poole did have that clip that was just like that was one of the most unserious possessions I've ever seen. Like when he dribbled it back, like walked it back, and then just got blocked on the perimeter. Like
Yeah.
those are the frustrations that Golden State would talk about, where it'd be like there would be possessions where just Jordan Poole would totally lose his IQ. There would also just be heaters where he would look like an absolute genius. Like that's what it is paying Jordan Poole. I think the Wizards are hopefully going in the tank, and that's what they should be doing because they need to get everything. Like there is no coherent core here. I don't see a long-term vision just yet. Like you're paying a few guys, but I was surprised they bought Kuz back just because I thought Kuz had value to other teams. Like I thought, like, I mean, there were plenty of Lakers rumors with him going back, but I thought a lot of contenders because like Kuzma can be like
Yeah.
both him and Jordan Poole, I think are good players when they're not being the lead dog on teams. Like, I guess that's just my point.
Yeah, for the last 5 games, I mean, on the 28th, came out, dropped 27 points, was a positive plus minus, but hasn't been positive plus minus since. Obviously, that first was their win against Memphis, their only win against Memphis. Since they've played, like, don't get me wrong, they've played, like, tough teams, you know? Boston, Atlanta, Miami, and Philly. So, like, those are the last 5. But yeah, it's just I mean, ugh, it's not good vibes there. Now, another player that I did wanna bring up that one of my observations was, I thought Max Strus looked really good right off the rip. He's kinda calmed down since, but it is starting to pick it up a little bit, and I was, like, kinda vibing with that, with the trade, with his pickup and kinda what he's been providing on Cleveland.
His first start was great, and you
Mhm.
hope that the shooting picks back up because it did go
Right.
ice cold then.
Yep.
I will never trust Miami guys outside of Miami. And that sounds
Yeah.
crazy, and it's
No, but
only
you're
their
right.
developmental guys.
Yeah.
Like obviously any free agent they bring in, it's a completely different story. But every success and it's great. Like they are the ultimate players organization in that regard, right? They develop these guys, they get
Yep.
them paid, but it's
And
remarkable. Like I feel like they're finessing these teams every time. Like even
yeah.
Gabe Vincent's start's been slow out for the Lakers. I just remember like I go back to like when Tyler Johnson had a great season and then what left Miami and never really did much else. I think about Josh Richardson and his early start to his career. And then as soon as he left Miami, like not really much else happened. He was bouncing around. So um yeah, that is like one of my unwritten rules is that Miami roll and I
Don't
guess
trust them.
that's the ultimate frustrating thing when you lose to them, right? Is because it's like these guys are only good in Miami. Like
Yeah.
but
Well, and that's the thing. That's the thing. I don't know what it is. Obviously, I mean, it does come back at that point to coaching, right? Like that's what it comes down to.
I am well, yeah, part of it. So here's my thing, and I'm not going to let Miami totally get away with this because that did you see
Oh,
their culture court?
no, I gotta look that up. Hold
That's
on.
the most grind Twitter like boomer motivational post court I've ever seen in my life, and Miami ought to be embarrassed about that. But I'm not going to totally hate on Miami either and be like, yeah, no, there is something to their
Oh,
culture. Like, there's a reason that
they
they're a
did.
successful
Um,
organization. But like, that was gross. That was disgusting.
I feel like they just gave Udonis a spot
They did.
Like,
Udonis is in the front,
yeah,
which is great because this is what
yeah.
he should have been doing for the past like 4
It's probably
years.
what he was doing for the last few years.
No, I mean, look, I know Udonis was a quasi coach, and I guess that's my thing is I'm surprised he didn't get picked up to be an assistant coach because that's essentially what he's been. Like he's been a player coach more or less. This he's doing. Oh, you got the face, so we'll come back to that in a sec. Like I know he's doing a lot of community advisor stuff. The Heat
Oh,
should the Heat should give him a job. Like he is like he's one of the most important. Like Dwayne Wade is obviously number one there. And I guess maybe Alonzo Mourning is number two, but like never doubt what Udonis Haslem means to that team.
Kelly Oubre scored the first points of the game. I bet you could have made a
Oh,
good buck off that. Holy moly.
if you were betting on Kelly Oubre overs early in the season, you would have made a lot of money because I am frankly stunned at like I Oubre is a good reminder about minimum guys that are out of the league but can score, that there is always a place for them because at the end of the game, this is a game about scoring the most points. And I feel like
Yeah.
we get lost in the sauce with that sometimes. But yeah, there's not not even in my wildest dreams could I have imagined Kelly Oubre having the start he's had for the Sixers. We knew when we signed him, he would have to play heavy minutes, especially with Harden holding out. But
Yeah.
yeah, what a revelation so far. I mean, again, this is a guy who's bounced around. He's on a minimum deal this year. Uh, his next deal is not going to be minimum. I know that if he keeps that up.
No, because what, against Toronto, he dropped 23 points and did it at a 61% field goal percentage. Against Phoenix, 25 points, dropped it at a 55% field goal percentage. I mean, Toronto, he shot 83% from three and 42% against Phoenix. So like it's awesome to see. And I guess I should have, I should have known. I should have
The
known to put him as my bet.
Well, of course, the Sixers are playing beautiful basketball when I said I wasn't going to watch them all season
I
long. Like I
know,
was going to go
dude.
on protest, and I don't want to be a hypocrite already and be back in. Like I really, really have taken a
Oh no,
firm stance.
nope, I'm
But
back. I'm 100% back.
the Celtics and the Sixers, after the first week, have the best net ratings in basketball. Like both their offenses have been
Yep.
great. We talked a little
Yep.
bit about Boston and Ballin and Fallin last week, but like, yeah, they're off to a great start. Their new additions have all fit in real well. I mean, is there anything that surprises you necessarily jumping off the page? Nothing
Oh,
really in the East. I mean, Indy's off to a really good start. That's good
so
to see.
So I'll say the one thing that really did surprise me, and again, it's such a short sample size, so it's hard to say these kind of things.
Yes.
But I saw this tweet and I thought, wow, I didn't realize that this was the case and how cool of a turnaround this could be. Rockets and Lakers are playing tonight, so by the time you're listening to this, you'll already know the results of the game. But if the Rockets were to win, they'd be above 500. And the tweet I saw said, if they do win and they're above 500, it'll be the first time in 1,005 days that they were above 500. So surprising in like, again, it's 4 wins. Cool. But for the Rockets, like that's a huge win for a young team that's developing.
I'm not gonna lie. At first, I thought that was 1,005 games, and I was like, "How on earth
Holy
is that
moly.
possible?" And
How
then
do
I
they
was
have
like,
any fans?
"No,
Yeah.
days that makes a lot more sense." I was like, "Dude, they were good recently." No, that really does make a lot more sense. And yeah, I mean, it's a good mix of Houston took some calculated gambles this offseason and added veteran guys, obviously going out and getting Van Vliet, playing Dylan Brooks a lot of money. But it is a lot of their young guys contributing too. And I mean, that's the thing that's important here is you've got Jalen Green hopefully continuing to develop. You've got Jabari Smith. You've got Şengün who continues to look really good. Yeah, Houston's got, again, I still think they're a bit off, but it feels like there is something tangible that's being built here.
Mhm.
Um, which is good because, like, they've been the past few years one of the youngest teams in the NBA. So I think maybe the wins and losses not coming shouldn't be that surprising. But yeah, I mean, definitely, like, the vibes are better around the Rockets this season for sure. I mean, a lot of the bad teams, like the quote unquote bad teams, I should say, it feels like the vibes are a little bit better. Detroit's a weird one because I think on one hand, you've got Cade back and you've got Cade showing signs of why he was the number one pick a few years ago. And so I think that's pretty good. I also think you have a lot of young guys who are kind of a mess still. Um, I
Well,
think most or
we'll talk about a lot of the younger guys, a little tease to my
okay.
Ballin because I think, yeah, we've got a list out and
Yeah.
I want to dive into it a little bit too.
The one thing specifically, though, Pistons to watch, at least, is the Jaden Ivey scenario. He doesn't seem thrilled about coming off the bench, and obviously, this is a guy that they drafted really high at number 5 a few years ago. Still very young, still a very unknown commodity at this point. So, but that is something to watch. Like, you would imagine I mean, I don't know. It feels like the Pistons should be trying to facilitate his development by every means possible. Like you're at the point where you're one of those teams where you're trying to make everything shake. So, but at least still, it's younger guys. It's oriented younger guys. Like Orlando feels like they're taking the steps. They took a little bit of a hit with Wendell Carter going out with a broken hand, which is a little tougher for them. They don't have a ton of big depth. Where like with guards, for example, they have like 6 million. Um, but I think they're off to a good start. Like I said, Indy Hallie's has been scorching to start the year. I think there's a lot to like from a lot of these younger teams so far. I mean, the big disappointment, if there is one so far to me, is Memphis. Like I don't want to keep beating up on them, but again, Memphis maybe shouldn't be surprising. Like they are dealing with a lot of adversity, whether
Mhm.
self-inflicted or whether just other things right now.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think, we can't really evaluate them until we kinda see what they're doing with Ja back, and that's not gonna be for a little bit, and so really until then, it's just how much can you tread water until we get there, and clearly right now, it doesn't look like they can, so
Yeah, no doubt about that, but we'll be keeping an eye on it. But you teased it a little bit ago. It's that time. Let's get into it. Who's balling? Who's fallen? Our NBA version of the stock market. We always like to start with the good before the bad. And balling for me this week. And hat tip to the real PD Gaming for actually putting these stats together on Reddit. But kind of one of my first impressions too, as they're off to a 6-2 start, is one Mr. Stephen Curry. Continuing to just light the league on fire. 30.9 points to start the year, averaging 57.8% on catch and shoot threes, 38.5% on pull up threes, a 73% true shooting percentage, 85.7% so far at the rim. I know that we give LeBron rightfully credit for dominating at 38 years old and still being as good as he is. Steph Curry's 35. Like he's quietly catching him too. And I hope that we have that
well,
conversation about Steph the way we do about LeBron as well.
yes. Now I guess my caveat will be Steph's game, in my perception, is more it feels like it can lead into continued success when you're older.
Yeah, he can shoot the basketball better.
Right, where LeBron is, like, absolutely just trying to plow through people, and obviously, as you get older, the physical side of it goes, which is where you start to lose people, but yeah, I agree, he should still be talked about in that sense. I just also think it's worth noting that Steph's game feels like it transitions easier to an older playing style, I guess.
Oh no, I agree 100% there. Like Steph has a game that'll age well. Like it's not,
Yes.
and he's sneaky athletic. Like him finishing it at the rim is maybe the most underrated part of his entire career. Like everybody knows he is a ridiculous 3-point shooter and can torch you that way, but he also just layups you to death a
Yeah,
lot of the time
yeah.
too.
Yeah, I don't think
Um,
I've ever seen him actually dunk. Maybe once or twice I've seen him
yeah,
dunk
once in a blue moon. And because you could tell it's rare at this point because
because
the
the team
teammates
freaks
always get
out. Oh,
hype.
yeah.
Oh yeah, you gotta
They go
love it.
crazy.
I mean, Draymond talked about it. I think he tweeted at the beginning of the year, but I guess that was to my greater point. Is it's like if Steph keeps this up these next few years, to me, he's already in the top 10. We're starting to Draymond thinks he's already top 5. Obviously, like I understand why he's taking that baton up, but it starts to become a lot more of an intriguing conversation. Like he is a lot. I mean, point guard already. It's him and Magic to me. And then at that point, like you do start to put him in a lot closer with the MJs, the LeBrons, the Kareems of the world, which is, I mean, we're in the most rarefied of air at that point.
I wanna transition a little bit to one of his teammates. Where are we at with Clay? Do
I
you
lo-
do
Go
you
ahead.
like, are, like so, like, the numbers, you look at oh, I pulled up the wrong thing, so hold on, the advanced stats for this year, again, 7 games, so it's like I don't wanna get too ahead of myself, but really the first time in his career, except for 2012, 2013, where his offensive box minus is negative and his defensive box plus minus is negative. His VORP is negative. Again, I know it's advanced stats and it's like, okay, well, stop nerding out on me. But, I think this leads into conversations that might have already been happening around him. Um, just to refresh everybody's memories, last few games, dropped about 17 points against Detroit, 15 against Cleveland, 18 against OKC. Only game that I'd say was a good shooting percentage would have been OKC, where he was 60% field goal percentage and 66% from three. The other ones were sub 33% in field goal percentage and 1 for 8 against Detroit from three. So, like, where are we at with that? And when do we potentially bring up the will the Warriors be willing to make a tough decision if they have to, if they feel like that's the way you got to go?
I feel like it's been, if we're honest, it's been ongoing for like a year or two now. Because the thing with Clay is, it's not just the shooting is slipped, but the injuries. Because Clay never got hurt at the beginning of his career. He had 2 major injuries back to back, and of course, they're later in his career. Like, Clay's well in his 30s now. Part of what made Clay great, besides the heat streak, was that he was one of, if not the best perimeter defender in the league at one point. His defense has noticeably slipped, and I think that's the biggest thing. Is it's like he's nowhere near an elite defender anymore. But for a while, even post injury, he got away with it because he's still an elite shooter. If the shot starts to slip, yeah, I think we're already having it. Like, I think we're seeing the Clay. Like, there's still moments. Like, he hit that game winner against Sacramento the other night.
Sure.
But yeah, I think with Clay and Dre, and maybe that's more points to how great Steph is it's
Right.
like, no, I think Clay and Dre are well into their decline. Like, Draymond got his last big contract. I don't know. It feels like there is a high chance that Klay Thompson leaves this offseason. If the Warriors don't give him what he wants, if he's going for one more big payday. But yeah, no, I think the Klay Thompson conversation, the decline is real for Klay right now.
Their plus minus net per 100 possessions is minus 8.6 with him on. Again, it's only 7 games, but
there were signs last year, though, and that's the point. Like, you hope the shooting gets better, but he's just not. Like, vintage Game 6 Clay is probably a thing of the past at this point. Like, and again, I think to me, it's more about the defensive end as much as it is about the offensive end. Like, that's where the biggest slippage is in this point. But who is balling for you this week?
Ballin for me is ESPN's ability to trigger the internet.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that goes without saying. I feel like.
I feel like you can trigger the internet pretty easily these days, but this is a very interesting one. They do it every year. ESPN's top 25 under 25 based on future potential. I feel like that is worth mentioning here.
So Wemby's 1 then, right?
No, he's 3.
Oh, 25 under 25.
Do you want to guess who might be above him?
Is Luka still under 25?
Luka's number 1.
Okay. Tatum's not under 25 anymore, is he?
Tatum is not on I think he's 26 or 27.
I think he's 26 now, too. I think he just aged out of it.
Yep.
Number 2, it's not Luka.
He was playing this summer.
It's not Chet Holmgren, is it?
Chet is 13 on this list.
Okay, I was gonna say, I was like, that's crazy.
No. For the US, he played for the US.
Ant. Yeah, okay, that makes
Anthony
a lot of sense.
Edwards.
Ant's a stud, dude. And we didn't talk about him in the first week, but like,
yeah,
Ant's a stud. Like, he's everywhere defensively. Minnesota's off to a great start. I mean, they've been, I think they're 4-0 at home to start right now. Like, yeah, Ant is him.
Your top 5 on this list is number 1, Luka, number 2, Ant, number 3, Wemby.
Okay.
Number 4, Hallie.
Okay.
Number 5, Ja Morant.
Okay, I get it now. So here's the thing. I would have thought this was nuts until all the off the court things happen.
Yeah. Number 6 is Cade. Number 7 is Zion, who I literally forget is in the league half the time.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, Zion would be near the top. He'd be arguably number 1 if he never got hurt.
Number 8 is Darius Garland.
Okay.
Number 9, LaMelo.
Okay.
Number 10, Jaren Jackson Jr.
Is this supposed to make me mad at some point?
There's a player that hasn't been named that I think should be named a little bit higher, and he's on
Uh-huh.
our team.
Well, where's Maxey?
Maxey's the next one at 11.
Okay, that's fine. If you have him around Darius Garland, and who's the other one ahead of him?
Above him is Jaren Jackson Jr., LaMelo Ball, Zion.
Yeah, that's fine. Everybody
okay.
Zion and up, I don't disagree with. Like, and I love Tyrese Maxey, and I think he could
Yeah.
get there. But like, I don't necessarily disagree. I think I would, and I am biased, but I would rather have Maxey than Darius Garland. But I don't think that's some egregious statement if you say that Darius Garland is better than Maxey. Like, that's completely fair.
Just to give you the top 15, because we stopped at Maxey, you got Evan Mobley, Chet Holmgren, Paulo, Scotty is your 15th.
Paulo, I think, could rise quick. Mobley is crazy. I think a lot of people would have thought that Mobley would have jumped Garland. Like, it would have been the opposite for the Cavs, and that hasn't been true so far. But wait, so was that Ballin or Fallin for you?
Ballin was me having the internet triggered. People were very upset. Hold on, I wrote them down. People were very upset that Cam Thomas was not on the list.
Okay.
They were very upset with Scotty Barnes being at 15, and a good amount of people saying Maxey should be higher as well.
They were saying Scotty should be higher or lower?
Yes, Scotty was 15. They were saying he should be higher. And then Cam Thomas, I pulled up his. So Cam, they were talking about Cam. He's I'm trying to pull. He's 22. I just pulled up his last 5 games. 33 points, 13, 17, 27, 45 points against Milwaukee on the 6th. So, I mean, I get they're trying to, give their guy love.
I know, but is that empty calories or not? And that's my kind of point, is where I'm like, that is the one where you have to ask the question for.
Yeah.
Not with not Maxey, not Chet. Who's the other player you mentioned that people are upset about?
Scotty Barnes.
Oh, Scotty's right. I mean, if Scotty keeps playing like this year, I think it's fine.
Yeah.
I don't really think it's that egregious. Like,
they think he should be higher. They think he should be higher.
No, that's fine. That's what I'm saying. If he continually
okay.
plays this year, I think he will be. Like, I think there was a little bit of a sophomore slump there, but anybody 10 through 15, I mean, really 8 through 15 on that list, you can kind of start to argue. Like, Zion, you have to put above them just because his ceiling is so much higher than any of these guys, I think. And then, the top 3, I think, goes without saying. Like, the only reason Wemby's not 1 is because Luka and Ant are just more proven commodities at this point. Like, you just know what they are.
People were pretty pissed that Wemby got there off of 4, 5, 6 games, maybe.
Yeah, but I think they're under, like, we gotta let it go, man. Wemby's here. Like, he's already better than I expected. Like, that's my point, is I thought there was going to be an adjustment period, and there hasn't been. And I think that's what should be the most alarming thing for the league so far.
Yeah, he's just right off the rip kicking ass. My Fallin, I guess we'll transition, is gonna go to Bam Adebayo. He finished Monday's game. I don't know if you saw this. He had he had the Heat's first ever 20 rebound triple-double in Heat history, and then the NBA took away one of his rebounds. So now he doesn't have it.
Yeah, it was. I did see that, and that is a bummer because history goes away. At first, I was like, "Wait a minute!" I was like, "I feel like Bam just had a big triple double," but yeah, no.
But I'd be pissed, man. It's like, oh, come on, you can't just give me that rebound, bro. Like,
yeah, no, it's definitely a bit of a bummer there. I'm not going to get into the betting aspect of that. I almost slipped into degenerate land with you there for a little bit.
Speaking of, you just let me hold up. Let me check.
I mean, by the way, any gambling companies, Drive and Dish NBA podcast is where to find us.
We are open for business.
No, my Fallin maybe is not a surprising one, but it's Julius Randle, who is off to the worst statistical shooting start in a season since 1959, averaging 15 points a game right now on 29% shooting. He is 25% from beyond the arc. He is 33% from inside the arc for an effective field goal percentage of 35%. The advanced box plus minus is minus 3.8 offensively, minus 3.5 for overall box plus minus. He's actually played pretty all right defense. That's been the theme of the Knicks season this year. I think the Knicks have been really good defensively, but I mean, there was kind of a joke about like every other season Randall, because Randall was pretty good
Yeah,
last year.
yeah.
He was pretty good 2 years ago, and he's kind of the year in between. Woof. Like this is unbelievably bad. I mean, it's not even like he's in the top 5 and the other 4 all played in the 50s. Like that's what we're talking about. Like
So,
this is truly some of the most inefficient basketball that we've seen.
do you think it has anything to do with the ankle surgery?
Oh, I really thought you were about to throw Skechers under the bus for a
No.
sec. I was like, man, he just got there. I was like, hang on now. I was
No,
like,
no, 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 no,
Embiid
no.
went there, he's doing all right. You hope it's that.
Yeah.
And maybe, I mean, against the Clippers, he finally got it going a little bit. I mean, he had 27 and 10 against the Clippers. He shot 42% that game. He was 9 to 21 from the field. 3 of 8 from beyond. So I guess there are a couple things to take away from there, but like just 5 of 22, 4 of 10, 4 of 15, 5 of 14, 3
Well,
of
and
15, 5 of 20. Oh, by the way, from 3-pointers in the lines game, 0 for 5, 2 and 5, 0 and 6, 1 from 9. Like the Milwaukee game is especially hideous, but that game against Cleveland too. 3 for 15, 0 for 6. Like, I mean, it can't get much worse. So I guess there is that much of a ceiling, but yeah, it's at some point you do wonder if the overall frustration will start to creep in with Knicks fans there. Cause I mean, the rest of the team has been fine otherwise. Like, I think Brunson, we like Jalen Brunson a lot.
he's come out.
Like
Yeah, he's
I
doing
said,
good.
I really feel like Tibbs has them. Not maybe we should be surprised by this, but they look locked in defensively so far. But yeah, you gotta hope he gets it going if you want to
Well,
remotely try to do anything.
that's what I mean. Like, cool, you've got your guys doing your thing, but if one of your go-tos, Julius Randle, is not clicking, then you as a team can't be clicking, and we can't expect too much from them. So
Listen,
that's
you
where it
never want
is.
your stats in the 50s unless you're like averaging what Wilt scored for some
Right.
reason, and then at that point, well, you are a
What it
super
is.
freak that needs to find a new league to play in because you're better than the entire NBA. Thank you everybody for listening to this episode of the Drive and Dish NBA podcast. Appreciate you guys as always. Leave us a review on iTunes, good or bad. We'll read them on the podcast. If you're not an Apple user, anywhere you find a podcast, you can find us.
Yep, and we are on YouTube. You can find us or search Drive and Dish NBA. We got a video version. Obviously, you can watch along as we play the Immaculate Grids and chime in on the episodes if you'd like to as well. We're checking the comments, so we'll be more than happy to have a conversation with you there or on social media.